Coming together under one roof, this public forum offered people with Parkinson's disease and their families a rare chance to interact with leading clinicians from both Australia and overseas.
Increasing the awareness of the symptoms for the patients and then helping the patient's carer to devise strategies to manage those symptoms.
It's all part of a 3-day conference involving 200 delegates to discuss the diagnosis, treatments and medical advances of the condition. 15 international speakers are in town, including Dr. Peter Fletcher from the United Kingdom. He's focused today on addressing the stress felt by carers.
People, I think, automatically engage with people with the disease, but perhaps forget that there is someone there supporting them and that person has their own needs too.
Parkinson's affects around 80,000 people across the country, with 32 Australians diagnosed every day. While treatments have advanced significantly in the past 2 decades, health professionals are hopeful that one day there'll be a cure.
I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow or the next day, but certainly the amount of work that is going on at the moment is absolutely unprecedented.
What we are getting ready is to prepare the team for the change, because the change will come, and when the change comes, we need to be ready as a team, not as a single person.
Renee Feder, NBN News.
From the veggie patch and onto the plate. This year's Tocal Food Days is all about food production basics.
People want to know how it's grown, where it comes from, and they want to get back in touch with that link with the land.
It's amazing for them to see where their vegetables actually come from, not the grocery shelf.
An interactive vegetable garden for the young farmer is one of the new additions to the program. The homegrown theme also extending to the kitchen, where the produce is put to use.
Most communities now have a garden, schools have gardens, so we're finding that because Australia has got an urban population and we've got plenty of land available urban to feed ourselves.
Food movement leader Amarel Dempster says over the past few years, community gardens are becoming more popular across the Hunter.
What it brings is food security. It means that we have food that's grown locally, seasonally, we can eat seasonally, it's much more nutritious.
Hoping to inspire more people to join this homegrown movement, a series of talks will be held tomorrow demonstrating how an average backyard can be transformed into a valuable resource. More than 22,000 people are expected to take part over the 3-day event. Talia Sav, NBN News.
With the tick of approval from one of the sport's biggest stars, today Adam Beisler's vision for the future of swimming came to life.
something I've been planning for a long time, but really actually getting out there and doing it and seeing it in the flesh, it feels awesome.
A fast and furious 2020-style teams format, ready for takeoff in the Hunter and soon across the state.
All they want to do is just get in and sort of race with their friends and have a bit of a laugh while they're doing it. So I think it's such a cool concept to have something like this in Newcastle.
Like Swim League, Fraser Holmes has reinvented himself with a new coach, a new set of events and a new determination.
There's no other reason why I'm doing this is for the pure longevity, but I want to make sure that that Tokyo is my best meet of my whole career.
To achieve that, he made the tough decision not to race the upcoming World Championships, instead going back to basics.
In order for me to get the best out of myself in 2020, that was the best thing for me to do this year, and I'm loving it. It's been such a breath of fresh air.
He's now eyeing off the shorter distances, the 200-metre freestyle and medley, and potentially a place in the 100-metre freestyle relay. Training alongside Cameron McAvoy is helping that goal, but for now, Fraser Holmes is just focused on himself.
A lot of people get caught up into sponsorships and meeting PBs, meeting times, winning gold medals, all this sort of stuff. But when you scale it back to the pure enjoyment of swimming and why you started it, it's such a powerful thing. It's exciting just to sit back and just to look at everything and put everything in perspective as well.
There's no fanfare, and certainly not the resources of their NRL counterparts. But training through a cold and rainy night is the Newcastle Knights' best side.
They're full of energy, they're full of beans, and they're just a great bunch of kids to coach.
Undefeated this season and winning with big margins too, the 16s have been turning heads.
Some of these kids have never even played a grand final, let alone a semi-final, so it has been exciting for them, and we've just got to keep them level grounded and keep their feet on the ground.
The regular season is only 9 games long, but the team has been together since November. For Newcastle, the focus is on development, not winning, and given the players hail from all corners of the Hunter and Central Coast, the extra time has helped form a close camaraderie.
That comes back to the pre-season because it was so tough. We had to kind of bind together to get through it. I think that helped us heaps out on the field. All the boys sleep at each other's house and that, sometimes to get to games, and so yeah, real close.
Tomorrow they'll face Manly, the familiar enemy packed with familiar names, Hopewate and Trebojevic. But Newcastle has stars of its own, Danny Badiris' nephew Max and Bradman Best, who set the league on fire.
The Newcastle Knights at this level is never meant to win a competition against the bigger clubs that have money to chuck around, and we build ourselves on pride and wanting to play for your badge, and this is where it's come down to.
It's a good thing getting to the grand final, and I'm stoked about that, but to get the win, I'll just be the cherry on top.
While it was business as usual at training last night, there is a certain buzz in the air around Toronto.
Everyone's talking about it. They've been talking about it for a while, so for it finally to be, it's been good.
On Sunday morning, the Scorps will load the bus bound for Mudgee and the Challenge Cup final. They'll face Sydney side Concord in the event's inaugural year to be played before City Country in front of an expected crowd of 10,000.
That's something that's part of the day that's enjoyable, and we understand there's going to be a big crowd, and we're hoping, being the countryside, that everyone will be on our side. And we've had a bit of luck at that venue already this year, and we know the field and we know the sheds and a bit of familiarisation out there, so hopefully that works in our favour as well.
Saturday's local league clash with South has been postponed to give the club every chance of success. It's been a mixed start to the season for the Scorps, a loss to Lakes followed by a late come-from-behind win over Maitland.
Maitland completed at 91% on the weekend and we end up getting 2 points. So we're realistic and understand what our team's capable of, and I think that the basics and the fundamentals are there, and I think if we can click on the weekend we might give them some trouble.
An added motivation, raising the curtain to the last ever City Country match.
Our boys have touched on that and what it means to them, and going out here in the first one and trying to get our name on the trophy first, it's something that we set a goal at the start of the year to try and tick this one off, and if we can I'd be very, very happy.
We'd be very keen to see the detail of this proposal, but I guess our concern is these projects have a habit of expanding and growing, and once mining has started on that site, it would be more difficult to stop it.
From princesses and ponies to Jedis and jockeys, Scone's annual horse parade was almost unrecognisable this year, transformed with a quirky Star Wars theme.
A lot of Darth Vaders, we're going to have stormtroopers, it's just going to be fabulous, and the colour in it's just going to be out of this world, I suppose you'd say.
Forget about the Force, today the message was clear. Fans of all ages jumped at the chance to dress up.
Princess Leia, and we went on the float. Star Wars.
With the upper hunter responsible for breeding 1 in every 2 Australian racehorses, the event is an opportunity to celebrate Scone's place on the equine stage. There was a nod to horses from the battlefront, while transport of yesteryear was also put on show. Stepping into the 20th century and high horse-powered vehicles cruise down Kelly Street. The parade, a feast of the senses. While horses of all shapes and sizes put their best hoof forward.
I like the brown horses. The bad thing was horse poop. The good thing was it was entertaining.
This colourful display kicks off an 11-day celebration of everything equine here in Scone. Thousands are expected to flock to the region for the festival, providing a valuable economic boost.
Every motel is booked, there's people eating every day, so they're using our services, and it certainly contributes to our economy, so it's absolutely brilliant.
The festival wraps up with the hotly anticipated Scone Cup next weekend. Sally Rafferty, NBN News.
Newcastle's city centre on a Saturday. Locals and visitors indulging in the city's sounds and sights, but with every crowd, the search for a car space becomes increasingly more elusive.
There clearly is not enough parking to cater for the current population, let alone the big increase of people coming in for the events.
From today, Newcastle Council will open its King Street car park on a Saturday. The announcement comes less than a week after some councillors voiced concerns about a proposed hike to fees. NRMA Chairman Kyle Loade says it's a good first step, considering the impact light rail will have on parking along Hunter Street.
Too many people are driving round and round looking for a park, unable to find a park, and that's got worse in recent times.
Business owners say ample parking is important if they're to cash in on passing traffic.
That's a brilliant idea. So for everybody all around the business, for the customers, for the people who work, and it's easy to go and park the car.
I commend the council for a great decision. They should go one step further and open Sundays as well.
Talia Sav, NBN News.
Down by 10 early in the second, the Knights were staring down a grand final loss. That was until they clicked into gear, a barnstorming try to Christian Mara before a fortunate deflection landed in the hands of Riley Main, the back rower doing the rest. That pushed the Knights in front 16-14 with 10 to play, but the contest was far from finished. A seemingly untouchable Albert Hopewate, the brother of Will, restored the Sea Eagles' lead, and they held it until the final seconds. In the build-up to this match, Newcastle sat down and watched the 97 decider. 20 years on, they produced something special of their own. That sent the game to extra time. Captain Jaron Purcell was the hero, sealing the win and an undefeated season.
Best feeling ever. To go through the comp undefeated the whole year to get here and then get in the nail-biter with Manly.
And that's not even off. That's not nice. No. For what is it with drivers from Toowoomba?
third driver from that little town out west of Brisbane that has claimed a victory in Cam's Jayco Formula 4. Just like the last two champions in the category, Jordan Lloyd and Will Brown last year, it's another Toowoomba-based driver from the same high school even that has laid down a win here in Cam.
It is only a matter of time until paramedics are going to be seriously hurt, and it's a matter for the government now to really commit to a summit to ensure paramedic safety.
"48 hours out from the budget, Labor politicians are hoping Newcastle won't be left out in the cold.
It's all very well to hit the defrost button now.
They're calling for the end of an indexation freeze on financial assistance grants and then some.
We need that to be unfrozen, but to support Labor's push for a stimulus injection now, bringing forward another $2.9 million.
Introduced as a budget-saving measure in 2014, the freeze stops grant payments from growing with inflation. The grants offer a direct line of investment for councils for common yet costly projects.
That's less roads we can renew, less footpaths throughout the city that we can build or renew.
This financial year, grant payments totaled $2.3 billion across Australia. Newcastle Council received $11 million. Local Government Minister Fiona Nash says she won't comment on pre-budget issues and wouldn't confirm whether there'll be any changes to the financial assistance grants come Tuesday. But the minister has previously indicated the indexation will resume from July 1.
$5,000 and $10,000 projects through this city, we can make a huge difference with local government.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
We just can't believe that so many people have turned up, so many people are that generous that they'd come.
A march of budgie smugglers and bagpipes to get the Merewether Mackerel's winter swim season off the blocks. Traditions were kept.
Learn to labour and to wait. Here's to goods.
Before swimmers, young and old, got their first race event of the season underway. Around 60 mackerels ranging in age from 10 to 100 get down to the Merewether Baths every Sunday from May through to September.
Proud of the fact that we're one big family here, and we've got sons and daughters and grandkids that all come along and eventually join up and jump in the water in wintertime.
Their oldest swimmer, Alf Carpenter, who became a centurion last month, started with the mackerels in their inaugural year of 1972 as a water boy. Since then, he hasn't missed a season and says the cold water is one of his secrets to living longer.
The fatty tissue under your skin gets very, very soft, and it's no trouble in the cold water.
Alex Heinke, NBN News.
A short drive from Newcastle, among the Hunter's autumn hues, there's a very special sanctuary, a place where once neglected and abused farm animals now roam free.
It's amazing to witness the progress that they make once they feel safe and secure.
Debbie Pearce bought the 40-hectare property in 2014 with partner Jamie Bedford, quitting her corporate job in Sydney to pursue her passion.
We'd thought about it and spoken about it for many, many years, and we just decided one day to actually do it. Life is too short and you should follow your passions, and we really wanted to make a difference in the world of animals.
It's here the couple established Where Pigs Fly, a farm where the animals are family.
No one's got a number, everybody's got a name, and they all are someone rather than something.
There's Thomas the duck, Jeremy the pig,
Jezza,
and a goat named Steph.
First she was very fearful, like most of the animals that come here.
All up, the property is home to 100 animals who have either been rescued from shocking conditions or surrendered, like Edna, who was found in a suburban backyard, deformed and malnourished.
She lived in a 3 metre by 3 metre pen most of her life, and knee-deep in mud and squalor.
It's a demanding and emotional job, but one Debbie hopes will encourage awareness of and compassion for farm animals.
Most people just don't know where their food comes from and how it comes to be on their plate. So I think, if we can raise awareness, if we can show people that these are individuals with unique personalities, each of them, then, we will make a difference.
Amanda Bennett, NBN News.
Maitland started the day with a negative goal difference. Matt Thompson quickly rectified that statistic. When Josh Dutton-Black was dragged back in the box, Thompson had the chance to make it 2-0. Things went from bad to worse for Broadmeadow when Matt Houle was sent off for this tackle. Coach Ruben Zadkovic had more to worry about when Thompson set up Ryan Clark as the Magpies made it 3. John Griffiths was then judged to have brought down Ryan Broadley, and Thompson had a first-half hat-trick. The demolition continued in the second half. Dutton-Black was taken down by the keeper and Thompson made it 4. The former Jets skipper then set up Ben Martin and the Magpies had 6 of the best. The whitewash was complete when Broadley earned another penalty and Martin bagged a brace. At Whitebridge, the home side hit the front with a sneaky free kick. Even the ground announcer didn't have time to finish before Rosebud was level. Both sides had chances to win it, but the Blues and Adamstown would share the points.
To have it as a 1,000 event for under WSL is amazing. The competition was so hard. I mean, I was more nervous for my semi against the local girl Nilby, but yeah, I'm just really happy to walk away from the win.
.250 metres left to go. Lead straightening from Aldermadart. Favourite's got right to the outside. My Field Marshall, but with plenty to do. Back to the inside. Better Than Max was in a bit of restricted room. 100 to go. Better Bet Black is in front from Aldermadart. Flying My Cha-Ching, but Better Bet Black. Better Bet Black has won the mile from, I'd say, Aldermadart second, third a photo. My Cha-Ching ran on well, and Better Than Max. Behind those Change of Mind, followed in by All Black Stride. Favourite.
Defence witness Professor Johan de Flo questioned on the stand about the likely effect of methamphetamine on accused drunk driver, 37-year-old Robert Shashati. The pathologist telling the district court that a level of 0.32 on its own, you could not conclude very substantial impairment. Professor de Flo said there were simply too many variables when it comes to the drug and that he couldn't tell from the level alone what the effect of that drug would be on that person. It follows claims by several witnesses earlier in the trial that they saw Shashati, who's charged with dangerous driving occasioning death, speeding, weaving in and out of traffic and driving off Madawi Road moments before he lost control in March 2015. The crash claimed the life of his 7-year-old nephew, Marcus. When questioned by defence barrister Bart Vesic on the accused driving prior to the crash, Professor de Flo described it as bad and even unacceptable, but said it was simply not an indication of whether Shashati's driving was impaired due to methamphetamine. Earlier, forensic pharmacologist Dr. Judith Pearl told the court Shashati would have been substantially impaired by the level of methamphetamine in his system, describing his driving as the worst risk-taking behaviour she's ever seen. The trial continues. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Notorious and noisy. The Buckets Way is overdue for an upgrade, and now the new roads minister is giving the region a slice of the pie, $13.8 million from the state's coffers.
The Buckets Way, no matter where you go, there's always issues and people are raising those safety concerns.
The stretch between the Pacific Highway and Gloucester will see big improvements centred around safety. By 2019, drivers should notice speed changes, wider lanes and new overtaking sections.
The safer we can make it, the less risk there is of accidents and the more lives we save.
More than $5 million will be spent replacing a rickety and risky bridge. The new span will be much wider. The improvements announced today for Buckets Way include here at the Brigo-Johnston Bridge in Clarencetown. When the upgrades are completed, travel times for heavy vehicles will be cut by around an hour.
Currently they can't go through that road at Clarencetown. They have to sometimes take a 52-kilometre detour. So that means time, that means effort, that means extra cost for the consumer at the end of the day.
Alex Heinke, NBN News.
Encouraging our communities firstly to identify it and secondly to know what to do once they acknowledge or realise that elder abuse might be happening in their communities.
Brian and Faye McGuigan are putting their money where their heart is, and that heart and hope is with Dr. Nicola Bowden. The McGuigans have so much faith in the ovarian cancer researcher and her team, they've funded an almost unheard of decade-long fellowship.
I spend most of my time asking for money, or applying for money. And yeah, I'd prefer to spend the time doing the research and getting it into the patients quicker.
Their youngest daughter, Vanessa, lost her battle with the disease in 1990, just 10 days after this photo was taken. She was only 21.
Research into this female disease is important, and so as a family we're saying we ought to do everything we can to make sure that the effect of it is minimised.
This year alone, more than 1,500 women are expected to be diagnosed with ovarian cancer. It claims the lives of 1,200 Australian women every year and has the lowest survival rate of any female cancer. In most cases, the disease isn't diagnosed until after it has already spread.
Well, majority of patients actually respond quite well to the first round of treatment, but as their disease progresses, they become treatment resistant, and then it's very hard to treat after that.
That's where Dr. Bowden's research is making ground, identifying a protein that switches off when a patient becomes resistant to treatment.
We want to turn that, first of all, into a test, but then also look at switching it back on to make the chemotherapy work again.
We only had 2 children. To lose one at 21, you think your life has come to an end. This is some salute to her, and also hopefully some hope to those ladies out there who either have the disease or might get the disease.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
A picture-perfect morning, the fitting scene for a new beginning. Maritime enthusiasts lined up early to capture the moment, but were left out to dry. The relaunch of William IV was delayed 4 hours due to balancing issues. It's been more than a decade since the vessel was in action. It's a working copy of Australia's first coal-powered ship and was built for the 1988 bicentenary. The William IV has been plagued by ownership changes, wear and tear, and a lack of funds for restoration. But thanks to its current owners, the ship is finally getting the TLC it deserves. All thanks to the donation of 2 diesel engines and the hard work of volunteers.
William IV has a berth at the Lee Wharf pontoon, and in a few months' time, when we've finished the fit out and commercial survey and the ship's licensed and registered, it will move to the Lee Wharf pontoon to undertake charters and public visitation.
For now, they're just happy it's full steam ahead. Alex Heike, NBN News.
Ross put in a typical gutsy effort for City in the final clash with Country. Fittler was impressed, saying the night was a pleasure to have in camp. The man himself had a simple philosophy for his rep debut.
If a moment comes up where you've got to work a little bit harder, then you do that and you turn up for your teammate. So I think I did my job tonight, and hopefully I put a good enough showing in to show that I'm ready to go to the next level.
But can he force his way into a star-studded Blues lineup?
My top Origin picks?
Who do you reckon will make it?
I'd like to say myself.
Club coach Nathan Brown will leave the decision to Laurie Daly.
I quite often talk to Laurie about football, but I think one thing he knows he'd get from Rossi would be a lot of effort, that's for sure. So, look, if Laurie's impressed with him, that's the main thing.
Ross was absent from night's training this morning as he and his fellow rep players got an extra day for recovery. Most are expected to be fit to play Canberra this Sunday, even Sione Matautia.
Sione's got a busted nose, a broken nose, but nothing that's going to keep him out of footy moving forward, I don't think.
Sam Stone is the biggest concern after his debut for the junior Kangaroos.
We're not 100% sure they'll be available for selection this week or not yet, but he hasn't trained today and they played Friday, so he's a little sore, but we'll see how he is tomorrow.
Their club teammates are looking forward to having them back, but they won't be getting special treatment.
I'm not sure they did too much during the week. I know a lot of boys had a few too many buffets, so they might need to get in to do some extra training, but I think they'll be right. They're up there for a reason, so they're pretty professional. They'll be good to go.
The young Novocastrian knows she has a lot to learn and her fellow Aussie racing car drivers seem happy to shadow her. Charlotte Pointing had little room to move in the final race at Barbagallo. Starting in 9th, Pointing showed good pace and at one stage was in a tussle for 7th, but engine dramas sent her into the pits in the dying stages before she battled across the line in 20th. Also in Perth, 15-year-old Sage Murdoch in his first season of Formula 4. The Newcastle High School student finished at the back of the pack in race 2, improving to 8th in the final race of the weekend. Fiery on and off the track at the season-ending Supercross event in Las Vegas, veteran Chad Reed was looking to finish his up-and-down season on a high. After only one podium finish this year, the Curry-born rider left it all out on the track. Heaping pressure on the championship leaders. He couldn't recover, finishing the final race in 6th. Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
I was with my family and we're just spending time chit-chatting away, and when I realised I wasn't going to be home, I changed my whereabouts there. Never returned a positive sample, and nor I never will.
At the start of the year I didn't get many results, and now I'm just over the moon with that result.
It's the one project virtually everyone agrees on, but struggles to get funding for.
This is the highest priority infrastructure project for our region. It delivers great bang for buck for the state government and the feds, it would unlock something like 3,000 new homes.
The Lake Macquarie Transport Interchange high on the wish list for many ahead of tonight's budget, namely the $13 million Pennant Street Bridge at Glendale. As for the chronic housing shortage,
the budget will be assessed, I guess, in terms of, is it helping to close the deposit gap for first home buyers? Is it increasing the supply of new dwellings?
the Property Council is hoping Treasurer Scott Morrison has housing affordability in his sights.
Reducing the capital gains tax from 50% rather to 40% would be a way to ease affordability.
A high-speed rail link to Sydney remains the priority for member for Newcastle Sharon Claydon, while a peak motoring body wants more money for regional roads. The NRMA estimates crashes on Hunter roads between 2011 and 2015 cost the state $2.5 billion. It wants to see $4 billion set aside in the federal budget to extend the M1 to Raymond Terrace and another $4 billion to improve rail connections between Newcastle, Sydney and Wollongong. And Paterson MP Meryl Swanson will be keeping a close eye on whether the government follows through on funding to raise Cessnock Road at Testers Hollow. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Pigeons are the only things moving at the old Newcastle station these days. The line is long since closed and vandals and age are taking a toll. But over the next few months, that will change.
Possibly filling between the platforms and creating an area that can be utilised. You know, you've got a very special event like the supercars coming up, so that we may be able to open the area up a little bit more.
Revitalising Newcastle have been poring over public input from last year's Idea Festival. The community was clear, something needs to be done.
I think it's a resounding yes. It needs to be an iconic location where there's lots of activities for a mixture of the community.
The long-term future isn't certain, but there's talk of art residencies and open market areas. Further down the track, there are still questions over what to do with Civic Station. amid talks of coffee shops or an open-air cinema.
I think the majority of people have said, if we keep it, let's make sure it actually does something, not just sit there and try and say this is the old civic station.
Alex Heinke, NBN News. The midweek hustle and bustle of Maitland and the levy is alive and well, the result of the urban renewal of the old mall. Now, there's been the first meeting of minds between Renew Australia, which has grown out of Renew Newcastle, and the Maitland Council. The goal, to allow the community to breathe new life into more areas.
We'd love to see the vacant spaces here in Maitland filled with young entrepreneurs and creatives, people who are looking to start up an idea and create an impact on Maitland.
The plan for the next few months include finding unused areas and figuring out a way to bring them back to life. It's not just here in Maitland either, surrounding areas will be getting assessed as well.
The main area of Maitland, but also some outliers there, Morpeth and Rutherford and East Maitland as well.
The council is also heavily involved, taking care of feasibility and financial studies.
There's a lot of excitement in the Maitland City community about urban renewal generally, but we need to make sure that it's a viable proposition for us. I mean, we can't just sit on things because they sound good.
A report on possible renewal sites will be released towards the end of the year. Alex Heinke, NBN News.
He's Newcastle's fourth coach in as many years, but Ernie Merrick isn't asking for time to build results. He wants them from the outset.
I'm not one having a 5-year plan. It's about doing it now, and it's about doing it every week. That doesn't mean you're going to win every week, but it's about setting out to play a brand of football that delivers results. It's about winning on the field. And yes, I want to get in the finals in year one, and there's no excuses.
A Foundation A-League coach with 2 premierships and championships to his name, he's clear in his vision.
I'm very big on a winning culture, and that's what I want to try and instill.
Merrick says that's why he left Wellington, hindered by travelling for games and losing players to international duty mid-season.
I've never lost a passion for coaching. It's sometimes good to have a break, because when you do have a break, you're continually trying to develop professionally as a coach.
He's very happy with the signings of Daniel Georgievski and Roy O'Donovan and wants to add more firepower to the side. Merrick will assess Newcastle's off-contract players as a matter of priority when he arrives next month, so they can know their futures. It's that leadership the Jets hope will lift them out of the cellar.
He's the most experienced coach in the A-League and most successful coach in the A-League as well, so he's been there for day one. And I think it's just that leadership that we need at this time.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News. Sione Matautia is sporting the scars of the rep weekend.
Bruised, swollen, but yeah, it still works, so I don't think it's broken. I'm sure it'll be okay come this weekend.
Now Newcastle's captain, he certainly doesn't want to miss a single game.
I know, it's just a privilege, and I'm truly honoured that the players think of me as a captain, and I was pretty shocked. You know, obviously being in a leadership group, but me being youngest, I never thought it would come my way, and the way it's worked out, it's sort of not the way I wanted to work out. You know, Trent's obviously a good mate of mine.
Matautia has been buoyed by the international break.
It's more than just the players and the game itself. It goes back to the islands and people, gives them something to cheer about.
And while he's striving to pull on the green and gold again, for now he's eyeing off this year's World Cup with Samoa.
It's pretty exciting. If I get the chance to do that, I'd definitely take it with both hands, and I'd definitely agree to play.
Daniel Saifidi is a regular on the international scene with Fiji.
Pretty much best week of my life, pretty much.
Assistant coach Petro Sivanasiva describing him as the sort of player they can build the team around.
He's my idol, and my mum showed me, and for him to say that, it's sort of like unreal sort of thing, like it's hard to believe.
Nathan Ross was also back at training today with the new goal of playing State of Origin, following high praise from Laurie Daly and Brad Fittler.
Blown away. It's good to know that I'm having that influence on the football world, and I use that more as motivation now.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News. Back home, finally having a break. It's been an incredible ride for Jason Sanger.
You don't really sometimes get time to sort of sit back and think what you've achieved in 12 months, but I think it's a good time maybe now to reflect, but also try and be better for next year.
2 years ago, he couldn't make the state under-15 side. Now the 17-year-old has just returned from co-captaining the Australian under-19s to an ODI series win against Sri Lanka.
Quite surreal, to be honest. I never really knew I was just going to get the captaincy job, so once that happened, and to be able to share it with Pram and Will Sutherland as well, it was so much fun. We had a great time together, and it's probably one of the best experiences I've had in my life so far.
He made a few starts in that series, but couldn't go on to a big score. He says that's disappointing, but he hasn't lost track of just how far he's come in the past year, playing for Australia A and the Prime Minister's 11, plus signing a deal with the Sydney Thunder.
I've been exposed to a lot of international and first-class players now that you sort of just learn and bounce ideas off those guys. And I've been really lucky enough now that I'm still developing as a cricketer, but I'm also learning how to manage being a cricketer outside as well.
Sanger will take stock of it all until June, when preparations for next summer begin.
You also got to have that time away from the game as well, and maybe now I can focus on my schoolwork.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
At the very least, we just want to see as much pink as we can at St John Oval and at the Leagues Club after the game. That's if we can achieve that, then we've won. Any dollars we can raise from the Maguire Foundation's a big bonus on top of that.
My grandma just recently had it, but it was only tiny when she found it, so it was really good to get over it.
With Barney coming back, there is a sense of expectation, but we've had a big pre-season and we've obviously set some pretty high goals. So as long as we keep working hard towards them, I think we'll be able to hit them expectations. Yeah.